I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Welcome to another live stream, office hours live stream. It does look like, I think it's a StreamYard issue. I've got amazing signal strength, but I don't know. StreamYard is being interesting. It'll clear up here in a bit. We'll see. I'll go ahead and just cut the camera and welcome the chat. Then we'll try it. It'll come back on soon enough. Don't know what I really need to look into some other alternatives to StreamYard for streaming, because I've got the signal now. I've got the internet strength. It's I don't know. I know that you can use OBS. I hate OBS though. I might try and use my capture card technology to stream. Let me try that. I knew it would do that too, because StreamYard shows you what your signal strength is according to them. Now I can do a signal strength thing on my just check my own connection and it's fine and everything's great, rocking the world. But good old StreamYard, just I don't know. Anyway, let me welcome the chat here before we move along too farther into that. Looks like Sound Engraver was first. My dear Sound Engraver, thank you very much. Looking forward to my salient points. I don't know, I don't know how long the stream will be tonight. I do have a little something to talk about, at least, for the thumbnail, and I don't know how long it'll take me to get through that. I'll cover that in a second. Don't have a big, topic, but we'll see how it goes. Also feel like allergies are just dragging me down tonight. My throat just feels like I can't stop coughing. Hopefully I won't be hacking and coughing into your ear. But Big Al Presents dropping by to say hi before his stream. Appreciate that. Won't be going too far into your stream there, Big Al. Divinital Kayan, welcome. Always good to have you. Anakin Solo, Nathaniel Zlozball, Ghost Planet Max Inc. 1.0, Luis Sanchez, welcome. Owen Lister, haven't seen you around in a while. Good to see you. Alec Purdue, great to see you there live. Andres Hernandez, Private Eye, and so many more. So many more. Welcome, everybody. Great to have you here. Check on. I just don't know what's up, StreamYard. I don't even want to try the camera anymore, because it's still telling me that it's such a low signal strength. Like BS, baloney. There's no low signal strength. You got amazing signal strength right now for my internet. It's just StreamYard sometimes. I don't know. I mean, not everybody else has the problem, but who knows? We'll see. Try it there. Let me refresh the chat. Get that back down here. It'll clear up here in a bit. No, it won't either. Good enough. You can look at Pixelated Me and Sound Engraver. Wedding is coming up. It's less than 70 days now. Less than 70 days away. So it's it's, for the longest time it felt like it was just forever out there. as I would always say, until you think about how many paychecks you've got between now and then, because we're still, we're paying for this thing ourselves, and it's not cheap. It's we're doing a small wedding too. I mean, we're doing a small wedding, nothing, big, huge frills. I mean, we're not being elaborate in any way, at all. It's ridiculous, and yet it's still it's still some money. I mean, goodness. So we're getting it there. Everything's good. It's going well. It'll be here before we know it, though. So I'm actually excited about. Sound Engraver said, "Well, the dress is kind of elaborate." Yeah, Sound Engraver. She's so practical. She's so, she's just not caught up in flights of whimsy or anything like that. But the dress, she. I'm glad she was able to be just the typical bride about something, and she did that on the dress. She had a choice. I haven't seen them yet, obviously. I haven't seen the dress yet because I want to see it when I first see her walk down the aisle. But she said she had a choice between a $300 dress and a dress that cost a whole lot more. And the one that cost a whole lot more was just the one, and that was the great one, So still paying that off. But got other things as well, but going well. Still trying to figure out obviously we'll release like an image, of us married and stuff like that. We're not going to share the service or anything, but I am thinking about maybe doing some reviews between now and then. I mentioned last night, excuse me, when Al and I were kind of introducing the book study for Dawn of the Jedi next week, I said, I really should do some, at least 3, I think, reviews of famous wedding stories in the comics. So I'll do a wedding story of, obviously you got Luke and Mara in Star Wars Union. There's the Superman Lois wedding graphic novel that they put together. There's also, I enjoyed the Green Lantern Black Canary wedding thing back in the day, at least the build up. They always seem to drop, the DC always kind of drops the ball like after a wedding. It's like, we can't have everything happy. The Dio is still in flux there, but I like most of it anyway. We'll talk about that. I see Dr. Y saying marriage. Marriage is what brings us here today. With love to love. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, if you don't know what in the world I'm doing, then shame on you. You need to go improve your film literacy. So go ahead, and I don't think that the Dominic Kayan says, dude, Sound Engraver deserves to feel like a princess in her wedding dress. Absolutely. And apparently it's amazing. Like I said, I haven't seen it. I want to see it. Did I say Green Lantern to pick out? I meant Green Arrow. I always mix those up, not consciously. I mean, I know who I'm talking about in my mind, but I'll always say one when I mean to say the other. I meant Green Arrow. Yeah. Yeah. I keep waiting for StreamYard to straighten up, but it just won't do it. It's kind of a bummer too, because I hate not using camera here. Let me see. Let me just take a look here. What I can maybe do about this. No, there's nothing I can do. I'm hooked up to. I'm even hardwired in. It's just dumb. Let me just. Go. My tutor.com keeps wanting to make me available. Like, no, I'm not available to tutor papers right now. I am doing a live stream. Okay. I'll try this one more time. And if it doesn't work, we'll just jump in. Oh, maybe that worked. Maybe that was the deal. If that's the case, if it works now, see what it's doing. Waiting for my stream to catch up. Hey, it worked. Well, okay. Maybe the problem was mine. Maybe I clicked something wrong. I think that's what was going on. I learned something new. It looks like I'll never have camera problems again because I just learned how to do it. No. All right, I'll tell you what I did. I hardwired the Ethernet into the computer, and because it got great signal, but my computer was still trying to be Wi-Fi, and it acknowledged the hardwire was there, but it was still trying to draw from Wi-Fi. So I told it not to. All right, we're good now. Tom Spiegel says, can't tell if I'm 12 minutes late or right on time. Pretty much the same thing. Those two are the same thing right now in the night stream, because I was dealing with cam issues, but now I figured out how to work that. I've got it hardwired in. We're good. So I haven't started the topic yet. And like I said, we'll see. See how far I get on the topic. I do see Dark Side APOC says, did you read the Jean Cyclops marriage or the Spider-Man MJ marriage? No, I've read some of the Spider-Man MJ marriage, but I grew up DC, so those are some things that I could definitely check into as well. Yeah, I know Spider-Man MJ marriage is supposed to be great, so yeah, I'll get there. Okay, so on the thumbnail there, I have, going way back, that if you didn't recognize them, if you had some standards and didn't bother watching the garbage film, the Bill and Ted Face the Music, that movie that came out where suddenly their sons were changed to girls, but we were supposed to believe that, guys, it's not woke at all, guys. That was just, it kind of made sense for that story wise, so they did that, but guys, no, it's not woke. Midnight's Edge was going to bat for this movie hard. A lot of people were out there trying to pretend that this movie wasn't woke, and it was so bizarre to me, like, why? What is happening right now? And occasionally you see it, and you're seeing it with the Barbie movie now too, from some people. Last week in last week's live stream, I talked about the people who were angry about the Barbie movie. And I was like, look, you did this. Most of you did this anyway. Who are mad about it because you can't stop saying no to content. But I decided I wanted to address the other side, because we're seeing a lot of people, from the usual suspects. The usual suspects are on YouTube videos and whatnot, who are usually calling out the garbage or whatever, but there's this strain of people going, I mean, it's not that bad, guys. Guys, it's not that bad. I mean, look, if you just you accept this or that, and whatever, hey, it's for women, and that's fine, and it's this, and it's fine, and I'm even hearing, I didn't bother listening to it because I couldn't even stomach it, but Register Radio is this radio show for this Catholic newspaper. And they have, media. And this one woman wrote a commentary about the movie when she's saying, I actually really enjoyed it, and I thought it was great, and this and that. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Every so often we get these movies, and you go back and see it with other films too. But I just went back to like the Bill and Ted Face the Music, and occasionally you get the Barbie. There's nothing different about these movies. There's nothing in them that isn't, it's not like they're suddenly not woke. Maybe they're not quite as offensive as films had been previously. But you get enough people on this bandwagon suddenly where they try to pretend that this one was okay, guys. This one was okay. We can go ahead and celebrate this one. And I put, it's just kind of like a, take that, dagger in there. I put on the thumbnail the Marvels as well. Like, where are you going to do that about the Marvels too? Because there's really no rhyme or reason to why they choose these movies, to try to pretend that they're okay, or try to say, guys, this one isn't woke. What's going on is you've got these, for the sake of YouTube, we're talking about these YouTube channels, but you can think about it, commentators or newspaper reviewers or whatever as well. They know that they can't just call out everything for the crap it is when it comes to Hollywood, right? They know they can't do that, because if they do, then they're just a hair's breadth away from coming over to my side and just being unable to deny the realization that, guys, just say no to Hollywood right now. It's not going to give you anything good. Just say no. Walk away. Stop consuming the new content. And as we've said before, they can't fathom not consuming new content. But the people who make the content YouTube-wise, they don't want to say no to the content, because that means they don't get your clicks. They are click hunters, as I said in the video description. They need to be able to come out here and talk about what's current. If they don't get to do that, then they don't get to ride the algorithm. They don't get to be insincere and try to play up this outrage. Oh, this one was actually okay, guys. And, oh, now they're doing outrage again. Wait for the Marvels to come out. They'll pretend that Barbie never happened. And it's they're playing this game. They're playing you, the viewer, who keeps going in there and clicking on their channels to watch their reviews. I don't care how witty or how funny their reviews are. Stop giving even the YouTubers attention, I would say. And I don't say that lightly. Let me get a super chat here before I miss it. Studio Super, thank you for $4.99, says, so backwards today. Instead of these guys pleading fans, I think you mean pleasing fans, it's the fans that must please them and pay for the honor of doing so. Yeah, exactly. Because you've got the, another Sound Engraver, it's on the super chat from Sound Engraver. Thank you very much. Barbie made 1 billion, which goes to show a certain menace has no cultural sway. It's the normies who have the power. Yeah, that too. But even and you get kind of, it's kind of hard to pin down when you want to say like a certain menace, because there's no club to which these channels belong to. You can't look at membership and who holds the membership and who doesn't or whatever, right? There's just sort of these movements, people that typically speak out against these kind of movies. But you see it. You see the memo go around. Oh, but we're supposed to like the Joker movie. We're supposed to be on board for that. Oh, we're supposed to like the Bill and Ted movie. Okay, we're supposed to be on board with that, because that's not actually so bad, guys, And some people will stay strong. Some people will still call out this garbage, and that's fine. But you get the this memo that kind of goes around. They know they have to, every now and then they have to give something a pass. They have to give something a pass, because otherwise people will just, oh, you're so negative all the time. I get that all the time. Prof's so negative. I mean, you can't be negative about everything. I mean, I stopped listening to Professor Geek because I just couldn't take all the rants and the negativity about everything. I actually had, I don't know if I mentioned it, maybe I have, but I released a short sometime back from one of my recent videos talking about how, guys, don't watch this stuff. Just don't watch it. You shouldn't be watching it, even to review it or whatever, and certain people come in and watch the live stream, but comparatively few people when it comes to people who will see your short. It's that short, hey, my attention span isn't afraid of that. I'll watch that for 15 seconds or whatever, as I'm just scrolling through YouTube shorts or whatever. So a lot more people saw this clip where I was talking about not watching things, and this one person commented on it. Actually, a number of people commented on it. Professor, we're going to need some context for this short. I mean, what are you saying? Are you saying we can't watch these movies? I mean, people were very sensitive and very upset that I might dare be hinting that, yeah, you shouldn't be watching this stuff. You should just not consume it. And one guy, I said, yeah, I don't know what's hard to understand about. I'm saying don't watch these movies or whatever. And one guy said, well, okay, it looks from the other comments like maybe you're just saying that people shouldn't be reviewing these movies. Okay, that's okay. For a second, I thought you were saying we shouldn't watch these movies at all. And I was getting concerned because I'd been away from YouTube a little while because I can't handle the negativity. And I just come back and then I see you saying that we can't even watch these movies. And that would, oh, well, I'm so sorry about your fifis there, sir, but you can't watch these movies. Now, who am I? I'm not, forcibly keeping you home or hacking into your computer so you can't buy a ticket. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to shut up and say and try to make it okay. It's okay. Go see those movies. It's okay. No, you go see them so you can tell people why they're bad. No, that's not how the system works. I'm one of the few people that's standing up and saying, stop giving them your attention. Stop it. Stop giving them your money, but then stop giving them their attention, because the woke, Disney doesn't care how many profits they lose. They're showing you that right now. They will drive that woke into the ground because the message is far more important than the profits. To the actual people telling the stories. I mean, you can maybe get to a bottom line somewhere, but I even think that the shareholders are really, and the boards are really pushing the woke stuff too. So anyway, that's not going to be a thing. You've got to stop giving them your attention. And people just, they can't even remotely imagine swallowing a pill such as that, because if I wasn't able to consume stuff, what would I do? I'd have to open a book and read some old book. Oh my gosh, my attention span can't handle that. I'd have to watch a movie that wasn't made in the last 10 years. And, I can't handle it without effects every 2 seconds. It's just, people. Anyway, got a couple more super chats let me get to before I jump to my next point here. Alec Purdue, thank you for $5. Says we can walk away, but we must also prescribe alternatives for people. Yeah, absolutely. The problem is, though, like we're saying, if you recommend older stuff, or and I know you like a lot of anime, and I've been turned on to a lot of good anime too. People don't want to try. You're absolutely right, Alec, but people don't want to give the alternatives a try, because more often than not, that's not really what they're looking for. They're not looking for great entertainment. They're looking for a current hashtag. They're looking for a topic that all of their favorite talking heads on YouTube are also talking about, so they can go and again, as I mentioned in a previous live stream, it's like the Jerry Springer style daytime talk shows that used to be back in the day, where people would just spend hours, of a day watching these trashy garbage talk shows, Judge Judy, all these kinds of things. That's what people are treating YouTube like now. They want this drama. They're getting off on this drama, so they're going through and they'll listen to like 4 or 5 YouTubers basically saying the exact same thing. Oh, but he had a wittism that he threw in there, and that was funny. I'm going to share that on social media. You know, it's that's what they're looking for. Not even really good entertainment. They're looking for that. Dr. Y for 550, thank you, sir. Said Barbie earned $1 billion, but Hollywood lost $500 billion last year in marketing. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't. That's interesting. I don't keep up with numbers because my dyscalculia, like I can't, like I'll forget that term, that phrase, or that figure you threw out there in a few minutes. But yeah, that is an interesting point. Thank you for that. Studio Super for 499 says it's not that I'm negative. These guys just suck. Want me to stop the negativity? Then they should get good. Exactly. Yeah, I never understood that. Look, you can't be negative about everything. I'm sorry, but if I have a standard, you know, I don't want to partake of this garbage. Stop trying to, you know, dress up the garbage and say, well, how about now? Well, how about, well, you're just negative. No, I just don't want to partake of garbage. I'm sorry, that's such a problem for you. I don't say this lightly, and I won't mention names here because I'll give you an example, and I won't mention the name from the example. But it's gotten to the point now where I think something like Barbie, I think you really have to consider the channels out there who are saying, guys, this movie wasn't that bad. This movie's fine. Are the channels who are even championing this movie? I've even heard, channels, much bigger channels like conservative, pundit channels or even smaller ones or whatever, trying to champion this movie as though it's some great, thing or whatever. I think you really have to take a hard look at their motives, and are they being sincere, and is this somebody's content that you should actually continue to support? Again, I'm not going to use specific names. I'm not saying I don't even have one specific person in mind, but I think, these little hall passes that they give these movies occasionally every now and then, they're so ridiculous. I think it's so transparent that they just want to make sure every now and then they can say something positive. So they just decide to give these movies these passes. And I think you really have to question the sincerity of the rest of the content they put out. And is it something that you should continue to support with your views and your clicks? There was and this is the example I'll give. There was a comic creator, a guy who was really, really prolific, really, great stuff, I thought anyway. And he was putting out a series, and it was, I can't imagine, most of you wouldn't even know the name, honestly, but it was, he was putting out this series where the series wasn't finished yet. It's not some big namer. Like I'm not talking about Ethan Van Sciver or something. My goodness, no. It was this other creator, and I had bought, I think, like the first 2 parts of the series. I loved them. Thought they were great. I was looking forward to the next couple parts or whatever that was going to culminate this story. But about that time, Rise of Skywalker came out. And I saw this creator on his social media kept saying, gosh, Rise of Skywalker is a great movie. What are you talking about? Now, the first time I saw it, I'm thinking, all right, what were you smoking when you saw that movie? But whatever. I'll just pretend you didn't say that. Whatever. I'm not expecting I'm not expecting the creators that I, look at their content. I don't need you to share every single one of my opinions. Of course not. No. But this person kept on it. He kept on just beating this dead horse about what are people even thinking when they say Rise of Skywalker isn't good writing? I mean, come on, it's amazing. And it was just like that was the hill they were going to die on for a while. And they kept pushing it to the point where I thought, you know what? If you're saying that Rise of Skywalker is a good culminating end piece to a story, and that's what you're applauding and lauding, then I don't think I'm interested in the end piece of your story that I've been following. And I've been, supporting you, and I've been, looking forward to the culmination that you're going to put. And I stopped. I just stopped. I, of course, unfollowed the guy on whatever, subscribed to everything. And I just stopped. I'm sure he finished that story arc, but I couldn't care less about it. And I loved it when it first started. That was such a cool buildup. But I realized, chances are, if you're this manic, and I'm not just saying just because you liked a movie I didn't like. No, that's not what I'm saying. Of course, no one's going to hold all your same opinions. But he was just this manic about, no, this is the film. This is great. People don't know what they're talking about. And I was like, well, you told me what kind of storytelling you approve of. And that tells me that I don't want to partake of your stories because I disagree with you on every angle of that, every aspect of that, And I think a lot of these channels are a lot of places that are coming out and trying to say that, this movie's great or whatever, or it's not that bad, guys. They're not necessarily pushing content of their own in terms of story, but they are out here to get your views, to get your clicks. We talked about the tragedy of YouTube is that we're far away. We're years away from the times when YouTube was a place for the people to actually speak out. We're no longer at a place. I mean, you can still find it here and there on YouTube, but we're no longer, on YouTube where the shill media, the mainstream media is silencing every voice that dissents. So you go to YouTube and you actually hear some people speaking the truth. You can find that, but YouTube has its own little shill media that's evolved, and I don't think that's any organized thing or anything like that. But I think what happens is a lot of people started their channels, then they get monetized, and then they start liking that sweet little income that comes in. Then they start making sure, because if you want to really stay healthily monetized and keep growing, you do have to make sure you're posting every so often, once a day at least. Really, you have to ride these algorithms. If you're a channel that talks about comics, for example, then you better talk about each new hashtag that gets relevant and is talked about. You better have an opinion. You better come on and get your little view in, so you can keep those views coming and everything. And then they started doing that so they could keep their channel growing, so they could keep that money flowing. And then their integrity just went out the window. Then they realized they had to start making videos about things they actually don't really care about all that much. More than that, they actually had to start saying nice things about movies that they really weren't crazy about, perhaps. And it just becomes so insincere. And I don't even care to listen to these people anymore. Half the people that brought me to YouTube, I don't even listen to anymore, because sometimes individuals of them are still, very integral, or maintaining their integrity or whatever. But just the whole movement, it's like I'm sick of that. I don't I don't need confirmation bias. Speak out the truth, or move on, do something else anyway. So you think about it. Who are you? What are you spending your time with? I talked about that a little bit last week, so I won't rehash it. But I do have a couple super chats here. Let me check back in with. Owen Lister, thank you, sir, for $9.99. Says, the last good movie I've seen this summer was Mission Impossible. Dead Reckoning Part 1. Can't wait for Part 2. Yeah, a number of people keep telling me about Mission Impossible. I haven't even heard much about it, to be honest. I don't follow. Mission Impossible for me was never a franchise that I was really into. I didn't hate it. I think I saw the first one and liked it. Some other people have mentioned it to me. People keep talking about it, though. One of these days, if I have time, I'll get around to checking, seeing what's going on, checking into it. But thanks for mentioning that, because other people have too. Alec Purdue for $10 said, I think most people are like Mr. Toad from The Wind in the Willows. They have the madness that makes them want to buy entertainment on impulse, even when it's to their own detriment. And if it's a great point, Alec Purdue, but you got that madness or whatever, and I understand the impetus to collect something or whatever, but why does it have to be something that? Why does it have to be the new shiny new coin? I mean, why can't you get into like collecting the EU, or collecting retro video games, or something like that, or collecting good anime or whatever? I don't know. It's just it's that need. I think it's connection. People are so starved for connection. They're so starved for people who don't want money, people who aren't trying to prey on you with your views and clicks. Other people who are just out there consuming this stuff. They want to feel like they're in a community, and it needs to be the current hashtag, so that that virtual community sense can be a little more palpable. Studio Super says, these folks that say stop being negative, they'd make for wonderful doctors. You got a life-threatening disease? Well, stop being so negative about it. Be positive about it. Toxic positivity is real. Yeah, that's a good point. People don't like it, but I still stand by my example I used about, them trying to they're just thinking of all the different ways they can serve you a crap sundae. And you're like, no, get this through your head. I will not eat excrement. Well, we dumped it out. We put some marshmallows in instead. I'm not eating out of the same bowl. And people you're just being unreasonable. Come on. They've done everything they could to try to fix things. It's like, oh my gosh. It's the perfect analogy, so I'll keep using it. So anyway, that's pretty much what I had to say about that. It's a topic that I can't just keep being into the ground, but I just wanted to talk about the people who are trying to give it a pass. But I did see some interesting comments here that had tagged me. Yeah, thank you guys for correcting me, Green Arrow and Black Canary there. Oh, I'm too far back. Spidey Rule says, don't mention marriage in front of Joe Quesada, or he'll send Mephisto after you. Yeah, Joe Quesada goes down in history with Dan DiDio and Nick Spencer, Tom Brevoort, the people who just hated the comics that they worked on and actively sought to ruin them, actively sought to deconstruct them and ruin them. I don't understand. What was your gain? You don't go down in history as anything great. You killed the character. You killed the franchise. The whole medium's dead, to be honest. I don't understand. There's still a couple channels out there that talk about, what's going on in Marvel comics or what's going on in DC comics now. And, I'm just like, who even cares about that? if you're still currently reading DC or Marvel and you think, oh, but there's some good spots here and there, then man, you've got this disease even worse than people who keep going to see movies. That's crazy. Yeah, Darth Enigma says what they fail to understand is we're not being negative, we're being realistic. Yeah, it's just speaking truth, Dark Side AOPC. I think you were the one that made this comment before. You made this comment on another video, and I'm glad you mentioned it here in the chat because this is pretty funny. You said, you mean the same YouTubers, these YouTubers are saying, guys, you can't be negative about everything. There's something you like about it or whatever. He said, these are the same YouTubers who would probably say they are straight and yet review gay porn, only to complain about how gay it is and to say the obvious. It's true. It's like, I love that analogy. Like, I'm for good story and I'm for good story. Here's my review of The Little Mermaid. It's like, who needs that? Who needs it? The only people tuning into that video are the people who want the drama, want that Jerry Springer style talk show drama, and you're giving it to them with your channel. That's what you've made your channel about now, because you're reviewing The Little Mermaid. It's not going to be good. You knew it wasn't going to be good. You knew you were going to like it before you saw it. Yeah, it's like a straight person reviewing gay porn. I do like that analogy. Spidey Rules said they seem to think Barbie movie is somehow making fun of feminism, which is such a bonkers conclusion to come to. That is really reaching. Yeah, you're right, and I'm glad you point out the specifics there, because a lot of these people, they're trying to say, guys, no, Barbie's pointing fingers at this nonsense and is trying to show how silly the feminism is. All I have to say about that is Margot Robbie. That alone totally disqualifies your whole point there. Margot Robbie is feminist icon number one. There's no way she's going to be part of a film that is poking fun at everything she stands for and tries to inject in everything she can do. But people want to give her a pass. Oh, but she's so hot. We'll give her a pass. At least they didn't get a land whale to play Barbie. As though that's got anything to do with anything. It's absurd. And they're giving this woman, the producer or director or whatever, she's going to do C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia next. And you wait, all these YouTubers are going to go review that too. It's, man, just culture sucks. And these people, I'm not mad at any individual YouTuber or whatever, but I really have just gotten such a bad taste in my mouth for the YouTube culture, which used to be great. It used to be really trying to call out the crap in culture, trying to call out the garbage in entertainment, and trying to push us toward a good place. Now it's just about writing algorithms, and they're so insincere about it. And just people are fooled left and right, just totally suckers, and watch this stuff and make sure they watch these streams and make sure they watch this and that, and they're just duped into it because they get hooked on that drama. Darth Enigma says, funny, I have autism and ADHD, yet my attention span is better than most of the current generation. I was talking to my nieces the other day, because they're one of my nieces in particular is of the age and the grade where she's having to do a lot of reading for school and whatnot. And I was telling her, my sister, her mother, I was saying, I tell my college students, you just can't make yourself be a reader. You just can't sit down with a book and say, no, I'm going to do this, if you don't have any practice doing it. Reading comprehension is something that comes easier to some people than others, absolutely. And you do need to do it to gain, experience with it, absolutely. But you have to practice. And for people, even for a lot of fans I know fans who used to be readers or used to watch movies, but now with the technology and whatnot, their brains are so atrophied where they're just to the point where they handle 15-second clips or maybe a longer YouTube video if they can go be doing something else at the same time. They've let their brains get to the point where they just can't sit there and focus on something, and they might not accept that because they used to read books, they used to watch movies, but no, your brain's gone now. So what you need to do is build it back up like any kind of muscle. And start with audiobooks. I tell people, start with audiobooks. If you can't sit down and focus on the page for a long period of time and comprehend it, you can make yourself read words for all you want, but to really comprehend the story and what's going on and to actively think about it, do what you need to build that up. Maybe start with audiobooks. For some people, it's a feat just to pay attention to the audio of something, and then start trying to read maybe some shorter form stuff on the page. You got to build yourself up to it. So yeah, I don't doubt that at all, Darth Enigma. I think I got another super chat. So I'm going back so far. Studio Super for $4.99. Thank you, sir. So I've been noticing lately stories seem to be about abandoning love in the pursuit of power. Mulan, Frozen 2, Barbie, the upcoming Snow White. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the feminist narrative, right? Princess don't need no prince. That's been the feminist narrative since forever. And somehow they packaged it in some pink, and people are like, yeah, but Barbie's actually making fun of that. Barbie's okay. What dream world are you living in? No, it's not. It's you say Frozen 2, even Frozen 1 to a certain degree. Even though you did have at least Anna end up with somebody, it was that's the feminist narrative. And that's why they don't just want to write new stories about a female character who doesn't need a love interest. They've got to take all the stories that that culture knows, that culture was built on, that had a love story, and they've got to try and dismantle those and deconstruct those. And Barbie's the same thing. Even though we never had a story of Barbie's been this icon. Barbie and Ken, that for children's toys, girls' toys or whatever. And so this movie is actively trying to deconstruct that, and a bunch of chuckleheads everywhere going, "No, but it's not that bad." Okay, all right. Tell me you're an idiot without telling me you're an idiot. One of us just has always been an audiobooks fan. Even I listen to the Bible. Yeah, audiobooks, I have no problem sitting down and reading for hours on end. I'm a slow reader. I've always been a slow reader ever since a child, but I have no problem with comprehending like that. But even so, your schedule's to the point where audiobooks is a great way to supplement your reading. I don't have the time to sit down and read hours on end as much as I'd like. So, traveling back and forth, going to get my daughter this and that, I'll listen to audio. I mow the grass once a week here, and it's takes me probably about 3 hours to mow the yards and the fields and stuff. And I just, throw in some audiobooks, and I'm in heaven out there. It's fine. So yeah, it's a great way to supplement, even, aside from trying to build up your reading comprehension. Tom Spiegel for $10. Thank you, sir. Said, I get what you say about YouTube channels that rely on drama. But not even you, sir, will ever convince me that pitch meeting is detrimental in any way. No, well, pitch meeting isn't, something like pitch meeting makes fun of everything, right? Who is it? Ryan George, the guy who does that. He doesn't have an agenda. He hasn't built his channel around calling out the garbage in Hollywood, right? He's there to satirize everything. So he'll make a pitch meeting making fun of Superman 78, and then he'll make a pitch meeting making fun of Man of Steel. He makes, that's his shtick, So it's I don't watch all of them. Some of them, pretty funny. He's a very very talented comedian. I think some of his videos crack me up. I was showing Sound Engraver the one the other day where he was making fun of podcasters, and it was like cats as podcasters or whatever, but he kept just calling attention to a lot, it's like these like health jocks or whatever, when they make their podcasters, and it's, yeah, 100%. People don't realize. We're cracking up at that. Looking down at the chat here, says the Cartoons and Comic Studio says, that is part of the 90% of the current audience are adult women and gays. I don't think it's going to affect culture, but will affect the message. We'll try to push harder. Do you mean for the audience for Barbie? Yeah, I didn't give much thought to. I mean, I see a lot of people just bringing their kids, even people who aren't like feminist, culture, people who would be a little bit more conservative, um, taking their kids to Barbie because they don't know any better. They just think, oh, it's a good, it's a children's movie or whatever. Uh, but yeah, it's going to have that effect on culture. It's going to start deconstructing us. See, that's what's so insidious about the woke agenda is that they go after all of these pillars that culture's built on in terms of story, and they try to just, weave their deconstructions and their own agendas into it. They know that they can't write any good stories on their own that would stand on their own. So they're trying to possess everything that's already out there, and it's good. I don't think this is so off topic. Dark Side says, I know this is, why do you think Hollywood is trying to get rid of the pure evil villains, the evil villains that can't be redeemed? I don't think this is off topic at all. I think this is very much a part of it. The woke ideologues see themselves, their main objective, their main role, really all they've got is to try to tear down tear down the establishment, right? They call themselves progressives because they want to move away from what is. And it's in that moving away, it's in that tearing down that they find their identity. You see this every time a really super progressive administration is in the presidential office or really holds sway in Washington. There's these like period of time where they're like, crap, now what do we do? Because their identity is in the tearing down. They really don't have anything to replace it with or anything, because as soon as they replace it with something, they start eating their own and crawling all over each other, trying to tear that down. It's like all they can do is destroy. And they identify with villains. They identify with villains because of that. I mean, even down to like, why do you think the, people who don't want to take good care of themselves, don't want to be healthy, don't want to, even try to groom themselves in any kind of way that might make them look attractive, they would rather embrace gross out, purple hair, obesity or whatever, and call it body positivity or whatever. They're embracing the villains, right? And then they want to have sympathy for the villains. So that's why, Cruella, just obvious. And it happened at the same time Joker. And people got they were just peeing their pants over how mad they were. Stop putting the Joker, because I did a series of videos where I would put the Joker in the thumbnail right next to Cruella, and they didn't like me pulling back the curtain on that old man. They'd like, no, stop pretending they're the same. They're not the same thing. Yeah, they are. Stop pretending that they're not. But yeah, that's a very big movement right up in here with all the stuff we're talking about with the ideologues and the agenda. Absolutely. Studio Super for $9.99. Wow, thank you, sir. So I love love interest, especially in hero tales. They up the stakes. They make what the hero fights for more personal. Why folks want to do away with this is baffling. With no one to love, is life worth living? Here's why. The woke, they have this phrase which they think is absolute evil. This phrase is called heteronormative. Heteronormative is kind of how the human race is procreated and it's still around and exists, right? It's a man and a woman falling in love and, eventually, having a family or whatever. That's kind of necessary to the human race. And they want to tear down everything that's there that works and that's, good in the world. And so they, progressive, let's progress away from that. So they'll tear that down. I mean, they part of that will be, it started out so insincere, right? It started out, well, look, we just want to have representation, right? Why can't we have some stories about, the gay character who has a gay interest, or the, this character? What's wrong with a character who just doesn't really feel like is asexual and doesn't want an interest? Well, nothing's objectively wrong with a character who doesn't end up with a love interest. Okay. It's not objectively wrong, but it's not going to resonate with human culture, because human culture and human psychology, it's built into our DNA. The desire to procreate. I mean, this is basic evolutionary science, the desire to further our species. And that's bound up in the heteronormative love story. Deal with it, Cupcake. It's not going anywhere. And if you want your story to resonate and actually stick around and be in the culture, then you got to have a good love story. I mean, not every story has to have a love story, of course, but that's a pretty seminal part of the hero's journey as well, both of the male hero's journey and the female hero's journey. It's and it's so loaded because it's not even a literal. It's not even always a literal lesson you learn from it. You don't have to watch a movie about a hero who saves a woman and kind of reclaims, metaphorically what that's speaking to you and telling you is that he's reclaiming that sense of home. He's reclaiming that sense of nurturing feminine in his life. That's the hero's journey there, and the opposite for the female's journey. And that doesn't always have to be a literal translation to you in your brain. It could just be that you want to go out there and fight for that what you think is comforting, you think is the representational feminine or whatever. Xerinx for $10. Thank you. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I think I've asked you that before, and you told me and I forgot. So I remember someone asking about Venomist. Oh, Venomist absence on YouTube. Is that a channel? I don't know Venomist on YouTube. Sorry, this is something I should know. I think it's evident they migrated to film TV because they were starting to lose ground here. Ironically, they're bound to lose even faster now. So was that a channel that started out on YouTube or a production company or something? Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. I have to look that up though. The name doesn't ring a bell to me, but I appreciate you bringing it up. I'll check that out. I'll look that up after the stream just to see what you're talking about there. Definitely, if you pay for a super chat, I'll definitely see what you're talking about. So I appreciate that. Leah Plus says Disney is now making Agatha Harkness into the fairy godmother. Of course they are. Of course they are. Oh, you meant feminist, Xerinx. Okay, feminist. Feminist absent. Oh, okay. That makes so much more sense in your comment now. Like, Venomist, is that a channel I don't know about? Should I? Okay. So let me read your comment again with that correction there. Yeah, I do that too. And you're typing fast and you get a wrong letter there. So I remember someone asked about the feminist absence on YouTube. I think it's evident they migrated to film TV because they're starting to lose ground here. Yeah, well, that's something that's true about the woke in general is that they can't handle criticism. Anybody who criticizes them is evil or ignorant. That's the only option if you don't agree with a woke progressive, evil or ignorant. And if you're ignorant, sit down and shut up and let us educate you. And if you don't sit down and shut up and let us educate you, then you must be evil. So they don't thrive well or handle well platforms like this that allow kickback and allow talkback. Yeah, it's a good point. Eldritch fan, $5. Thank you, sir. Said I've heard people excited about Ahsoka and Thrawn. Oh my gosh, that drives me crazy. I've been waiting so long for a live action Thrawn fighting the original trilogy heroes, and this is what I get. Thank you. Absolutely. I would never do this. I'm just speaking rhetorically here, hyperbolically rather. I just want to punch the face of every idiot who's like, "We're finally getting live action Thrawn." Like, no, you're not. You're getting live action pseudo Thrawn. You're getting Filoni's, idiotic take on what he thinks Thrawn is. This is Disney canon Thrawn. This is not the real Thrawn. Nothing about that story is going to be the real Thrawn or the real things that should take place or that was so great about the Thrawn trilogy. None of that. And people are just like, yeah, but at least we're finally getting blah, 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 blah. Ahsoka she's Rey. She's Rey. She's Captain Marvel. There's no difference between her whatsoever in these other characters. But they won't hear it. No, she had to learn. She's different. Okay, she's not. She's some reason they just have this like, no, she's different. She's amazing. It's weird. It's bizarre. Studio Super for $9.99. Thank you, sir. Said trying to tear down heteronormativity is like Joker trying to tear down Batman. Or if he's successful, he's damned in the process. Fitting analogy. Us Batman fighting a world full of Jokers. Yeah, it's exactly. I mean, it's how I contextualize it. You're bringing up a good point by talking about the Joker, who's a trickster villain. We've got too much trickster in culture, and that's nothing new now. It's happened throughout the history of the world because the trickster is fun, right? The trickster looks cool. The trickster is the nonconformist. The trickster's standing up, scoffing at the conformity of society and saying, no, I'll walk my own path, tricksters throughout history. But go ahead and give power to the trickster then and say, okay, all right, here, you arrange things. You rule society. And it's only a matter of time before they end up becoming the thing that they said they hated, or they the tricksters who run things will just start eating their own, like I said, and because they can't, their identity is in tearing down. They don't have anything to offer positively. So you can sit there and scream about, oh, the patriarchy, and say whatever you want about it, whatever maybe valid criticisms you have about it. What have you got to offer in return? Nothing. Nothing that would give us what the patriarchy's given us throughout the history of the world. It's it's really stupid. Amen, Spidey rules. I'm so sick of Ahsoka. I'm kind of happy that this Ahsoka series is happening, because I think Ahsoka's been a character that people have just been willfully blind about for so long. Finally, go ahead and put her front and foremost. Go ahead and give Filoni full reign on her. Put her out there, and I think people are going to start to realize, oh, okay, well, I guess maybe she's not that great. It's like people just need to. It's like the child who just thinks it'd be so cool to smoke a cigarette, and you finally let them inhale once, and they gack and hack and cough and everything. It's like, yeah, go ahead. Here, smoke your Ahsoka. See how wonderful it is. See how cool she is. The imaginative hobbyist said, did you know that when Sony wanted to make a Barbie versus He-Man movie back in the day, progress stopped when the directors they reached out to said it was a bad idea? I hadn't even heard of that. Yeah, I don't know about a Barbie versus He-Man movie. Wow, that's funny. Yeah, I hadn't even heard of that. That's interesting. Eldritch fan said, what was it take for you to review Barbara Hamley's Children of the Jedi? There's no abridged audiobook. Sorry, Al. Just time. I would like to get through as much of the EU as I possibly can. It's just time. Reading the books and going through, the ones that Al can do with me right now. And eventually I'll have to branch out and do other ones, and hopefully he'll figure it out and stay on board. But yeah, just time. There's so many great EU books that I want to get to. Who is it here that keeps saying Ghost of Tatooine? I know. Ghost of Tatooine is going to happen. That's a good one too. We'll get there. Felix AG said, Ahsoka doesn't exist for me. Anakin never had any apprentices. Yeah, it's people try to say this, look, Ahsoka's a great character. She was really done well. Well, she wasn't done well. That's a lie. You might have some really good episodes. If you look at like the Clone Wars, the series, you might have some really cool episodes with her occasionally. What I maintain is the idea of her was a good idea. Okay, the idea of Ahsoka was really interesting. What would it have been like if Anakin had a Padawan? Well, the first thing is that Padawan would have had to die. Her story arc would have had to be over and done with, because we know that a Padawan isn't what makes him turn to the dark side, right? It's losing Padme. We know that certain things are already in the structure of the story. He's not pining for some Padawan in the original trilogy. A Padawan's not any part of his redemption. So you can't push her into that. But within the confines of that limited part of his history, you could say, let's explore the idea. Maybe he learns or is discouraged in ways, from whatever goes on with his Padawan. And that's, her original end in the original Clone Wars series. Yeah, she goes off into the distance. She should definitely die with Order 66 or somewhere around there. She doesn't need to survive. But what did Filoni do? No, she's his little waifu, baby girl that he has to keep and protect at all costs. He said this, like, I don't like for things to end. She's my favorite. So he just kind of ramrodded her into every piece of the continuity, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. Look at the stupidity he's introduced in the Star Wars universe just to try and make this work. Time travel. Yeah, totally. She's still here. It's like, yeah, she's behind the scenes, and she's the one that tells Luke to go redeem his dad. Oh, no, this is ridiculous. And people still try to give this bratty little crap character a pass. It's absurd. You guys got me on a rant. I think I saw Sound Engraver drop a link. That's probably the link to her Siege of Mandalore critique, which was really good. Check that out. Owen Lister for $9.99. Thank you, sir. Said, if you'd like a manga recommendation, I'm currently reading No Gun's Life, a cyberpunk noir story where the main character, Juzo Inui, if I'm pronouncing it right, has a gun for a head. A gun for a head. Okay, you had me on cyberpunk noir. I was like, hey, cyberpunk noir, I like that. That's a cool combo. A gun for a head. Maybe it's cool. I'm not saying it's not. But my initial reaction is, that's a little out there. But maybe it's awesome. Maybe it's awesome. I'm not saying it's not. Thank you for recommending that. I do like cyberpunk noir. Did they ever put out the Oh shoot, now I'm blanking on it. What's the I did reviews of the first two seasons and the movie. Um, something pass. Psychopass. They were supposed to put out another film or something of that. I heard about, but I didn't keep up with it to see if it was released yet. Maybe it's still coming out or whatever. But I like that kind of cyberpunk. Wasn't so much cyberpunk. It was more, but definitely noir feel. But yeah, cyberpunk's a great genre. Studio Super, thank you, sir. Said tricksters mock those with principles. The thing about principles is they are what separate the boys from the men. Yeah, and it's sometimes it's not that. I mean, there's a time and place for the trickster. The trickster is necessary to society. I've talked about how one of my hobbies is following early American history, colonial times, revolutionary times, and after, even right up to the Civil War. But I just like that era. I like reading about it. It's just fun. It's just a hobby of mine. But you look at the Revolution in particular, in the revolutionary time, or any time that there's a revolution in the world history, that calls for a lot of tricksters. You need people standing up and saying, absolutely not. Here's the line in the sand. We're not taking anything that's not this. These are the problems with all of this, and things need to be torn down. But then there needs to be a period where something else is built up in its place. And if you look at the creation of the United States government, moving from the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution, a lot of people who were right there arm in arm together fighting British tyranny were suddenly complete and total opponents, about, what kind of government should be in its place, Patrick Henry and even James Monroe and James Madison were on different ends of it at first, eventually, but eventually things kind of coalesce and you get over the hurdle, and the trickster needs to sit back down, basically, right? If culture and society is going to progress, there are times for the trickster to stand up and do their thing, but eventually they need to sit back down, at some point. It doesn't mean that what's there is perfect. It doesn't mean that what's coming after maybe doesn't need a little trickster here and there. I mean, the setup of the Constitution basically ensured that the Civil War would happen at some point because of the states versus federal rights issue. But yeah, you need to have that in waves. You can't just be the trickster all the time. Dr. Y for $10, thank you so much. Said I made a curious observation when I watched the last Ahsoka trailer. It's almost like they're trying to make her a female Jedi version of Yojimbo is the samurai rabbit, right? Yeah. I'll have to go back and watch the trailer and see if I'm remembering the name correctly, who you're referencing there. I have to go back and I don't watch the trailers because it's just like, gross. So I don't want to watch those, I said I don't get off on like following the news. Oh, did you hear the latest? Did you hear the latest that Disney's doing? No, is it a pile of garbage that they're doing? Yeah, you can't believe it. Oh no, I can believe it. I don't need the details. I know they're doing garbage. They're a garbage company. They're doing garbage. Done. I don't need the details. So because of that, I don't follow all the latest and stuff. But yeah. Kimberly Goss says 2003 Clone Wars is greater than 2008 Clone Wars. 2003 Clone Wars was amazing. It was so good. I wish it would have been. I mean, it's great for what it was. I wish we could have had more of it. I wish the pacing might have slowed down a little bit, give us more of it. But the Clone Wars 2003, that tells you the story of Anakin at the end of Clone Wars, the film, or Attack of the Clones, the film, tells the story of him becoming a Jedi Knight. The Clone Wars 2008 or whatever just picks up with him being a Jedi Knight already. So I don't hate the Clone Wars 2008 series. Siege of Mandalore is garbage. It's utter trash. Don't even bother with it. But and of course the whole thing Filoni did. The first few episodes were interesting, but it's just I'll pass on that. Season 7, scrap it. There's good stuff in the Clone Wars series. One day I'll probably rewatch it and enjoy the good stuff. I'll have to put up with the insufferable brattiness of Ahsoka here and there, and how the story just gives her a pass at every end. But there's good stuff there. Now, I much prefer the EU. I haven't read all of what the EU did during that stage of Star Wars history yet, but what I have read is far superior to what Filoni did with Clone Wars. But yeah, good points there. Ahsoka, or Xerinx, Ahsoka is to Filoni as Liara, as to Karpashin. And I said your name correctly. Good. Yeah, Karpashin's a hard name to spell. Karpashin's written so many great things. Carpenter is one of those novelists I loved. I loved his Star Wars, everything he did. I mean, he's behind Knights of the Old Republic and everything. And I started reading his own fantasy trilogy, and I couldn't get through the first one. I'm sure it's amazing if you really have the stamina, but it was like it was so much world building and vignettes, and he would introduce you to a character, and then that character dies. They would introduce you to another character, and then that character dies. They would introduce you to another character, and then that character would die. And it was just like, and what he's doing is he's building the world and building the things as you go along. But I was like, I'm bored. I want, some authors, and I don't know if this is true about Drew Carperston in particular. This is my one experience with that one novel that he wrote. But there are authors out there who really shine in pre-established universes. They're really great if the rules are already established. If the readers come in already knowing the rules of the universe, they already know the world building, they're really good at just going in there and telling really cool stories. To be able to world build while you tell a story, that's a whole other skill set that some authors just don't have. I'm not saying Carperston doesn't have it. I just, that was my sense from reading that one novel. And maybe he's, totally disproved me with others. I don't know. But Studio Super for $9.99. Thank you, sir. Said, interesting thing with Mission Impossible 7, Part 1, the villain is an AI that all governments want, for they want to control the narrative, to basically control the concepts of right and wrong, remake or maintain society. I don't think governments want that. Governments are generally good and want your best benefit. Of course not. That's a great premise. That's a really cool premise. An AI. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, Skynet's here or anything, but this AI thing is getting out of hand. It's already destroying humanity, by which I mean that people are already relying on it for things that were integral parts of the human experience. Students are already starting to use AI to write papers and submit them to me. And right now it's at a place where you can pretty easily tell, most of the time, but, give it a little while longer. Jordan Peterson talked about he said there was an AI app or something like that would give you like a virtual girlfriend who would like send you naughty pics or everything like that. And I was like, really, what is that? And then one day I saw an ad for, I forgot the company it was, but the virtual girlfriend was very much like a cartoon, computer animated. You could very much tell this was a virtual. But then the other day, this ad popped up. I showed it to Alan Fanman. I'm like, are you kidding me? Where it looks like an actual physical person. It's AI though. It's AI generated. And I told Alan Fanman, I was like, yeah, tell me you're wanting to invite a demon into your life without telling me you want to invite a demon into your life. Because I mean, that's just like leaving the door right open for it there. Let me have this relationship with this non-entity that anything else can have. Oh my gosh. It's AI is a problem. I'm not saying there aren't great uses for it, but it's becoming a fast problem. And it's going to get out of hand very quickly, very soon. Owen Lister for $19.99. Dang, thank you so much. Said, about to get ready for bed. Before I go, do you think what we need now is a frontiersman, our detective, to strangle? That's a good point. Okay, yeah, that's a really good point, Owen Lister. So if we've got too much of the trickster in society, what's the next archetype we need? We definitely need, I would say, we need all of them. We need the ones you mentioned, the frontiersman. Remember, the frontiersman goes out there into the new territory and makes it safe. It makes it safe. It's not trying to tear down, like you think about the frontiersmen back in the day. So, the Daniel Boones, the Davy Crockett's, the what's the other people I'm thinking of? Ethan Allen, but there's one, Daniel Morgan. These frontiersmen who would go out into the frontier, land that had been taken away from Indian tribes in a lot of these cases. It wasn't right what happened in a lot of these cases, but it happened. You're not going to restore it. That can't be undone. So now you've got both Indian tribes and colonists trying to inhabit this same area. You can go out there and talk about, the evil patriarchy all you want, but you're not going to change anything. You're not going to do anything. You're just making yourself feel good or whatever. A frontiersman needs to be out there, actually boots on the ground, making this safe for all parties involved. Let's make this area safe. Then you need the detective to restore boundaries. You need the detective to say that even though these changes have happened, there's still very firm absolute right and absolute wrong, and we are not going to let people trespass these laws. You need the detective to do that, to restore boundaries. Yeah, I would say those two spring to mind the most. Of course, we always need the Paragon to give us that aspirational standard. I mean, that's all at any time. But I would say, yeah, the trickster always needs to be followed, and usually has been in history, by a frontiersman, and then or by frontiersmen, and then detectives. You know, that's those two archetypes that always need to follow the trickster if culture's actually going to continue and go on. Thank you for the super chat, though. Appreciate that. Good night. Hope you have a good one. Spidey Rule said, I missed Dr. Y and Eldritch fan super chats. Did I? Let me go back up here. Oh, yeah, I did miss something there. I saw Dr. Y said I made a curious. No, I got Dr. Y's here about the female version of the Jedi, or Ahsoka being the female version. Yeah, I got that. But I did miss Dr. Y's here. Tricksters in Revolution. Heck, my home state had Francis Marion, aka the Swamp Fox. Yeah, I just love. I love that era. I love that that time period. It's so fascinating, the things that were going on, and such an important part of history. It's fascinating. I've got some ideas. Eldritch fan said it was Leia who defeated Thrawn by reaching out to the Nogri. Yeah, exactly. Not with a lightsaber. Princess Leia accomplished more than General Leia ever could. That is a great point, Eldritch fan. That's a great point. We talked about this when I did the Thrawn trilogy. I don't know if I said specifically the point you're making there, but I talked a lot about how Leia, she was a great heroine. Her superpower was her diplomatic skills. Yes, she had the Force in her as well. Luke was trying to teach her. She could wield a lightsaber. She was learning, and that's fine. But the EU authors didn't look at Leia and say, she needs to be strapping on her boots and out there fighting and swinging from things and doing everything Luke does, because women can do it all too, which is exactly what every new modern feminist storyteller or whatever tries to do. But no, they took Leia and said she can do something that none of the men around her can. Other men in the universe can, but just canonically in the story, she was trained as a diplomat, trained by her father. She was, our foster father. She was, she's amazing at it. And you're right. Her diplomacy is what, and it was her heart, her feminine compassion, wanting to reach out to these Nogri, wanting to save them and help them. Everything about her as a heroine archetype, she did what no men in that story could do, which was bring the Nogri on board, which ultimately killed Thrawn. You're absolutely right. Yeah, she's the, she was the deciding factor in that in so many different ways. But no, it's not good enough. They had her pregnant during the Thrawn trilogy. That's so problematic. Oh, can't have a woman pregnant. It's just everything about today's culture sucks. Studio Super, thank you. Said interesting thing. Oh no, I got that. I was going back to get the one I missed. I think there's another Studio Super here. Yeah, Studio Super says, I'm pretty old-fashioned. Even though I do digital art, I do it as old-fashioned as possible. Try to make it feel and look as paper-like as possible. Yeah, no, I'm not saying anything's wrong with digital art in general. I think when I was talking about that app, I was just saying that how the AI has actually achieved, a lot of realism. I was telling Sound Engraver, she was asking me about the Arkham games. And I said, one of the problems, aside from the story snafus they make left and right in Arkham Knight, one of the issues I had with it too is that they were trying to make the most out of the new generation of PS4 technology or Xbox One technology. So they had these characters who had been very attractive looking characters. You look at Poison Ivy or Harley or whatever, Catwoman, in the first Arkham games, very good attractive designs. Now you see them in the Arkham Knight, and it's just like this uncanny valley thing. Like looking at Poison Ivy's face, it's like, it's just nasty. It it's just like, turns my stomach. And this is the same character design. She's still in the same outfit and everything, but they tried to make her face too realistic, and they just couldn't quite achieve it. And AI is closing that gap, which is kind of freaky and not great. But let's see. Who said? Under fans says, I dropped you another super chat. All right, let me get to the end here and see if I still missed it. If I'm still missing it, let me know. Tom Spiegel for $15 says, Prof, do me a favor. Mention Octopus Cowboy Volume 2. Volume 1 is awesome so far, and Volume 2 has been shadow banned on Indiegogo. Are these your books, Tom Spiegel, or are they is it someone else's? I have not heard of this. Octopus Cowboy. Sounds like a fun title. Volume 2. Volume 1 is awesome so far. I don't think it because you're talking about somebody else's. I'll look up what Octopus Cowboy is. I'll look it up. So apparently Volume 1 was great, but Volume 2 has been shadow banned on Indiegogo. Shocker there, right? I'll check into that. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Studio Super for $4.99 says my anime manga recommendation is Dragon Ball. How I describe it: what Superman did for the superhero genre, Goku did for shonen hero genre. A lot of people keep recommending Dragon Ball Z to me. One day maybe. And I've heard that Goku is a a Superman-like character. I've heard that. I'm not saying I will never watch it. I'm saying that everything I've seen of it thus far, it's really hard to get past. It's really hard to get into something if you find the visuals so unappealing, Now, I've crossed hurdles like that before. Getting into anime in general, I still hate the dumb overreactions, that are all over My Hero Academia. Yeah, I love My Hero Academia, story-wise, But Dragon Ball Z just looks so... And it's just me. It's just totally objective. I'm not saying this is a subjective truth at all. If you grew up with it or whatever, it's totally fine to you. It's hard for me to get past some of those visuals. One day maybe, though. Enough people keep telling me about it. So one day maybe. I know it's blossomed out into so many different series and so many different things, and too, it's like where do you even start? It's one of the reasons why it took me so long to get into Star Trek. But I love the original series when I did, so I'll give it a chance one day. Dr. Weiss says, I've toyed around with AI writing a little. AI is terrible at keeping continuity. Yeah, I mean, a possible good use for AI writing would be to help you get started on some ideas. Like maybe, I've got a story idea right now. And I was telling Sound Engraver, I can't even talk about it yet because I'm just thinking about it. If I talk about it, then it's like the excitement will be gone, So I just need to keep it there. And I need to kind of let some things coalesce before I can actually start putting pen to paper because there's so many, I don't quite know how some of the connections are made. So I don't think I will for this, but I could go into something like an AI, chat and say, write a story about, and then put all my little ideas there. And then it would, it might be able to get me started. It might make some connections that I hadn't quite thought of. I could take that and then I could make it my own story and actually roll with it and develop it. Something like that might work for like AI writing. That's a good point. I mean, I'm not saying these things don't have uses or good uses. I'm just scared of how fast it's developing and whatnot. All right. As of right now, I'm at the end of my super chats, but I don't want to miss anybody's. So I'm going to take the time to scroll back up. See, the thing is, when the chat's so long like this, as I scroll up and then more people are writing, it jumps back and forth. So I keep maybe missing a super chat. Please let me know if you have a super chat that I haven't read yet, because I'm scrolling up and looking for them right now. So I'll scroll up a little bit here, and then if I missed one, you can let me know in the chat there. But I do see at the bottom here, Private Eye says, I remember the beautiful song, but why endure this lone crusade, fight a fight that you just can't win? If asked, the bat would tell you someone's got to stand up to all this sin. What song is that? Sorry, so I can't always recall these things on stream. Should I know that? But cool lyrics there. Cool lyrics. Darth Enigma said, my first Star Trek was Generation in DS9. I noticed older Trek was better at handling progressive issues than modern entertainment. Yeah, I still haven't watched DS9. Fan Man tells me I'll love it, and so it's on my radar to watch DS9 at some point, because they kind of ripped off Babylon 5, and I love Babylon 5. So I never could get into Next Generation. I still can't. And I'm not saying it's horrible. It's just not for me. It felt like watching my liberal public school teachers on a spaceship. Like, what are these? How are these guys fun to hang out with? I just didn't get it. The original series, that's swashbuckling. You got, very much wagon train in space. Freaking loved it. And just still can't get into Next Generation. I could get into an episode here or there. I certainly understand the appeal of certain characters. Data. I mean, how can you not like Data? He's an awesome character. But yeah, it just felt so 90s preachy. I don't know. I just can't get into it. Let's see. Anybody seeing anything about super chats I've missed now? I know Eldridge Fan was saying I might have missed one, but I think I got his. So come on, get off there. Just want to make sure. See anybody saying anything about that? Nathaniel's Lowsball says, I may not have watched Dragon Ball, but I'm pretty sure Goku isn't anything like Superman. He's a good guy, but not necessarily a paragon. Yeah, I can't speak to that. Yeah, I don't know because I don't know Goku, but I've heard enough people say that he's as maybe it's fair. I don't know. Maybe it's fair to say he's as Superman like as you might be able to be in this Dragon Ball Z universe. I don't know. I don't know. Um, but I'll give it a chance at some point because I've pulled the trigger on a lot of great anime and I've loved it, and I need to get back to more of it. It seems like one thing after the other keeps sucking up my time. Last semester I was teaching extra classes, saving for the wedding. And this summer, I was picking up a lot of extra work, saving for the wedding. So maybe after the wedding, I'll be able to have a little more time to dig into some more stuff, entertainment wise, review things and whatnot. Jackhammer City, I'll stop there. Says I hate that the same people who hated the Protect Trans Kids poster scene in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse are the same people who are saying that this movie was not that bad. Yeah, about Barbie. Yeah, exactly. There's no rhyme or reason to their. They watch the algorithms and they say, oh, people are going to reward me if I say good things about this. No, they might come at me a little bit if I say, okay, I don't want to be against the chat. I want those clicks and views to keep happening, right? It's so insincere. Have some integrity, for crying out loud. All right, I'm trying to see if I missed anything. I don't think I've missed any super chats. Good. Yeah, I got yours, Eldritch Fan. We're good. All right, good. Sound Engraver says there'll be no stream of hers tomorrow. She was still working some extra shifts and whatnot, so I think she'll return next weekend for a live stream. Just checking out the chat here at the end before I cut off. The Imaginative Hobbyist says, which cut of Superman 2 do you prefer, Donner or Lester? That's a good question. I mean, it's hard to pick. Superman 2 is an interesting case because you can't say, like, I think I like more of the Donner cut than I do of the Lester cut, but I still can't say, so Donner cut to me is canon because they took the ending from the first movie and put it at the end of the second movie, which I know he originally wanted to do before blah, 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 blah. But you can't really say, okay, so the Donner cut 2 is the real sequel to you can't watch them in continuity because it's got the same ending, which is just silly. And I like some of the things in the Lester cut. I think it's horrible that Donner was booted and stuff like that. What I was hoping to see at the end of the Donner cut was the ending he would have placed had he been able to do Superman 2. I didn't want to see the ending he wanted to do back in the beginning all the way along. I wanted to see an ending that he would have placed having already been made to make that ending the movie Superman 1, if that makes sense. It's a hard question. I really can't give you a definitive answer. But definitely, if you really quantitatively, I would say I like more of the Superman 2 Donner cut than I did in the Lester cut. But I still like some stuff in the Lester cut. Darth Ignimus says, Nathaniel's correct. Goku isn't exactly a paragon, but he is pure-hearted. Okay. Yeah, because you can be pure-hearted, not quite a paragon. So. All right. I am out of steam, guys. Throat's closing up a little bit with these allergies and whatnot, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. Looks like I was over an hour, actually. Yeah. Dang, I was over an hour tonight. You guys just got me rolling on some rants, but I appreciate all the support. Appreciate all of the talk and got some good comments out here and good topics covered. I will try to cut out some stuff for videos if I can, but I'll be back on Friday night. We'll be doing, Al and I will be doing the first 3 chapters of the Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void book study. We've been talking about it for a while. Weren't able to do it last night like we thought we were, so I did a background. I kind of went through episode 0 or issue 0 of the comics to give sort of a background of the history and what's going on in the history of Star Wars at this point in this era. But we're going to go ahead and start the book 3 chapters on Friday. And then I'll probably be back for another live stream Saturday, another office hours. So that's what's going on. Thank you to those of you hanging out. Thanks for all the support. I appreciate it. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.